it's still selling the product, but you've actually watching something you're engaging with. I think it's perfect.
We've been a little bit short on time, obviously, because we had one or two technical difficulties. I'd like to take any questions if there are.
Hello, thank you very much for showing these great films. It's awesome. I had one film that sort of created quite a stir, and the way it was financed in the UK was Shane Meadows' Somerstown, because it was a film that, for those who don't know, was made possible through Eurostar, actually, because the central premise of the film revolves around these kids making a trip to Paris. And I was just thinking, do you think that, for you guys, do you see a savior in brands for independent cinema filmmakers, where, you know, what if they were to approach RSA, the brands approach RSA with, you know, we have this thing to sell, and then with the budgets that are usually attributed to a commercial, to a high-end commercial, you could probably do a feature-length film on an independent level. Wouldn't it be cool to do an independent production company that is based entirely on that model?
I mean, yeah, it would be a dream, and clearly there are cases where it works and can work. I think the key thing is it will unfortunately never be a universal way to finance a film. I think one of the things that I've been struck by in the various examples where it's worked is the event itself becomes something that people write about, and if every film was sponsored by a train company, it would cease to have the same allure. But it's a wonderful. I think brands that seem to me, and I'm not an expert, although I'm pretending to be, brands seem to me to be in a difficult position now, which is that they have to engage people in a different way, and they have to create content which is genuinely entertaining. And obviously one wonderful way to do that from the perspective of filmmakers is to commission filmmakers to create material that is intrinsically entertaining, and therefore they might want to share it. But I don't see it as a universal savior, unfortunately.
I mean, there is a billion-dollar jewelry brand I know that has a film company and they are producing content. You know, they're producing movies that's going to have their products in. You know, it's more about the story than the brand. It's coming.
Any other questions?
Yes, I've got the mic. Jolene Blecker, FBTV. Can you tell me, what was the budget on those? Was there like a collective budget? And so did each director get a certain amount allocated? Was it equitably distributed?
I'm going to pass that one over to Damiano, I think.
I couldn't tell you the budget, but I can definitely say there was a pot of money, and it was distributed for each film. Some of the films were cheaper. Some, you know, Cars was, I think, was slightly more. And of that budget as well, it was taken out all the online. The site was built as well, but it was less than you think.
Was it? Yeah.
No, it was less. It was less than you might think.
No clues.
No clues.
How much do you think would brand entertainment at the moment allocate? How much percent to what RSA is producing on the commercial side, and are you aiming to get more brand entertainment for you as a production company? And if so, why? Is it just because it's more fun, or is it?
I mean, I could say about 85% of our business is still traditional commercials, and then it's music videos and corporates. And I mean, it's a growing business. It's still quite small, to be honest with you, but pushing for change all the time. That's all I can say.
Why? Because it's creative, more rewarding, or you think it's better business as well?
Basically, ad agencies have ad models the way they earn their living, and they, you know, producing commercials in the traditional way, it's more profit for them, and change is difficult. I think a lot of places, a lot of the good creativity is coming out of the digital shops, the smaller shops that don't really know how to manage big budgets yet, but they're starting to test the waters. I mean, you have some brands that they split. They've got rosters of agencies looking after their different sides of their business, and some of the smaller, more online thinking film-wise, and I go in and see them and push them to think bigger and think, let's go in and pitch the brand with a big project, you know, I mean, in the vein of Philips or in the vein of, you know, YouTube. But the traditional shops, they just still think very much, above the line, just the commercials. It's a very sledgehammer approach, and it works for the brands. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's, for me, on a creative level, I'm trying to get my directors to do a bit more, be able to push the boundaries more than the usual 30-second stories.
Yeah, if I can follow that up a little bit, just from the kind of director perspective. It is more fun, and there's a reason why it is and almost has to be more fun, which is that just as these longer pieces of entertainment content need to find an audience, they need to draw an audience to them rather than being thrust at the audience in a commercial break, whether the audience likes it or not. So the people making it need to be making something which will stand on its own and be intrinsically worthwhile. And that's quite a different set of parameters to the ones that inevitably you grapple with making advertising. Obviously, the best advertising can be absolutely wonderful, but if you are making interruptive advertising for a commercial break, there's always a number of, if your client is a corporate client, and I'd exclude, for example, if you're making maybe a public information film about a social issue, or I've done a lot of work for the National Health Service in the UK, which can be very dramatic because you're making films about safe sex or teenage drinking or whatever, and these can be fundamentally dramatic subjects. But that kind of thing aside, most of the time when you're working with a commercial client, there are a whole range of totally valid client stipulations to do with how they might present their product, how visible their branding might be, how memorable some product feature that may not be all that narratively significant, has to be in the film, even who's in it. A lot of clients like to think that the people in their commercial have to relate to the people that they're selling to. So all of those, and I'd stress, totally valid concerns that commercial clients have when the audience for their work is guaranteed, evaporate when suddenly they're in competition for the audience, and the only way they can get that audience is by making something that's creatively good.
Sadly, we're really out of time now. So I think just to wrap up, I think it's fair to say that the days when sponsored entertainment, if you like, and they go back a long way. I remember Mozart being told that by Emperor Franz Joseph that the marriage of Figaro had too many notes. Well, I look good for my age. That times really have moved on, and it sounds to me, certainly from the brand perspective, I mean, sitting and watching 3 fabulous pieces of cinema like that, I think if that's branded entertainment, then bring it on. Would you join me in thanking this great panel? Thank you.